A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I extend you a very warm welcome to another online workshop on how to leverage creators on Instagram to move business outcomes, an initiative by etbrandequity.com and Instagram. The connection between the creators on Instagram and their followers is authentic, powerful, and unique. Creators inspire their followers in so many ways, be it by driving awareness on important issues, motivating them to take some action, or through simple yet informative entertainment. Creators on Instagram are not just artists for their line of work, but experts in authentic and impactful brand communication. Therefore, brands today reach out to these creators to help them further extend their value in a very personal way to their audiences. To know more about how brands can be a part of this amazing movement, we have with us today Arjun Sood. Mr. Sood is currently the Client Solution Manager CPG at Facebook India. He acts as the digital consultant for some of India's largest FMCG companies. He has over 6 years of marketing experience, ranging from being a brand manager at Nestle for the popular Maggie brand to leading a performance marketing team at Performix India. Apart from FMCG, Mr. Sood has extensive digital experience with brands in the banking, insurance, retail, and transportation sectors. Welcome, Mr. Sood.
Thank you so much, Besaki.
So, without further ado, let's start with today's workshop. We welcome our audiences to share your questions with us in the Q&A tab as the workshop progresses. Towards the end of the webinar, we will open the platform for Mr. Sood to answer your questions. Over to you, Mr. Sood.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining us today. Really happy to see so many people coming in and joining us here. Extremely excited to share what we have today for you. I'll broadly be taking you guys through three main pillars for Instagram. I'll start off with a little bit on Instagram, some very interesting insights on consumers of Instagram in India, how it's shaped up over the last couple of quarters. I'll dive deep into, of course, branded content ads and influencer marketing. Basic tenets of that, how you should be thinking about it, what are the top concerns and questions that people generally have. And I'll finally segue into some interesting creatives to show you how some of the top advertisers in India are leveraging influencers on our platform. And we'll show you some tips and tricks of how to go about it. We'll, of course, end with the Q&A following that. So kicking off, about 2 years back, we hit a very significant milestone on Instagram. We crossed 1 billion monthly active users globally on our platform. And ever since then, it's only been growing at a very, very significant rate, right? And one of the key reasons that we've seen this kind of an adoption and love coming on from people is because Instagram over time has actually become the center culture melting pot in our society right now. It's become the center of modern home of visual expression, right? I'm sure a lot of you here are users of Instagram as well. And this is the platform where people not only come to share their moments of love and enjoyment with friends and family. They also come to follow their passions, to explore their creative side, and to really express themselves on our platform. And with that power, we've been able to get a lot of very enthusiastic users on our platform month on month and quarter on quarter. And this very closely aligns with what we at Instagram, keep to be our center tenet and the mission that we really have, which is essentially to make sure that we're bringing you closer to the people and the things you love. So whether it's us working with creators, or if it's working with brands, or if it's working on the products that the consumers finally consume, our final mission is to make sure that you are able to get much closer to the people and the things that you really love. And I think by way of seeing the love that we've got from people, this is something that's coming up really, really well, and it's becoming a reality for us. I think what's interesting is, and cutting a little deeper into the Indian consumers on Instagram, some of the interests that people follow on our platform, some that would commonly be known would be something like fashion and travel. But we've seen people actually come onto our platform to consume content and engage for a variety of different interests, right? All the way from news in terms of, let's say, following their favorite news channels or anchors, or consuming content around news, or it could be in terms of sports. So we've seen a lot of people consume content and follow their favorite cricketers, their favorite IPL teams, and such. We've also seen a lot around technology, so review certain products, tech enthusiasts really sharing content. So there's essentially a lot of different interests, and we've seen across the entire spectrum. It covers a very, very wide variety of passions that people have in India. Specifically, when it comes to businesses, we've seen that essentially what people have told us is that they're very enthusiastic and they're ready to engage with brands on Instagram. So 2 out of 3 people actually say that Instagram is the platform where they like being able to interact with brands, whether it's by way of directly messaging, whether it's communicating with them, learning about the products and brands that they have. This is what consumers have really shown a lot of interest in. About 50% people actually said that they're interested in a brand when they see an ad of it on Instagram. And I'll, sort of give you a little deeper insight of it on this next slide as well. And finally, if you look at people who follow businesses, pretty much 9 out of 10 people actually follow a business account. And I would probably encourage you to go and check out your own followers, and you will be very interested to see that you also would be following a couple of business accounts. Most often, it's not something that we intuitively believe. But what we've seen is people are very, let's say, enthusiastic and ready to engage with brands on Instagram itself. If I specifically talk about the halo effect that Instagram gets, that's a very interesting phenomenon that we've observed. What we've seen is whenever users encounter and see brands on Instagram, there's a very positive impact that Instagram has actually on the brand as well, right? So what people have essentially told us via surveys is that when they do encounter brands on Instagram, they believe these brands to be popular. They believe these brands are entertaining, they're creative, they're informative. And hence, I think a good, strong presence of your brand on Instagram seems to have a very positive effect and impact on your brands and your products itself. If I specifically talk about, let's say, the entire marketing funnel, right, all the way from awareness to conversion and purchase, what we've seen is that the platform really helps people throughout the entire route and throughout the entire funnel. People have actually not just discovered new products on our platform, but this is also the place that they would research new products or services itself, and also take decisions as to whether they want to purchase a particular product or not. So I think what generally intuitively comes to us is that it's majorly helps us to build upper funnel brand awareness. But we've seen people to be very enthusiastic about researching about products and putting them into their consideration sets, as well as actually taking decisions whether they want to buy a certain product or not. And clearly, as you can see, pretty much all of the people who've been surveyed actually agreed with this. 95% throughout the entire questions that we put through, right? So depending on where your brand is, you can actually take advantage of the platform to either build discovery for your brands or to make them more easier to convert right at the bottom of the funnel. The next thing to look at is, let's say, of course, you've gone ahead, you've put your presence on Instagram, you've been advertising, you've been working out a little bit. What is the impact that, your presence on Instagram has after people have seen your product or service? And we actually quizzed on 2 different parameters, both online as well as offline, and very interesting, encouraging results here. If you look at online, pretty much every person searches for more information once they've encountered you on Instagram. So 94% of us searching for more information about brands. 84% of them will visit your website or app to know more about you. And 70% actually made a purchase after being encountered by with brands on Instagram itself. So there's a very strong rub off of what people encounter and engage with on Instagram, and the actions that they take in the digital world outside as well. The impact actually translates offline as well. So 62% of people actually agree that they visited retail stores, post being having and engaging with brands on Instagram. 45% of them start following these your accounts online, and there's a lot of word of mouth as well that spreads once people have encountered it, right? 46% of people actually talk about something that they may have seen on Instagram with some of their friends and family. Essentially, if you really think about it, broadly, your audience definitely lives on Instagram, right? And they connect with different people on Instagram. We basically have 3 kinds of profiles on Instagram. There are brands, there are creators, and there are users like you and me. Brands really connect with their consumers through a lot of different immersive and engaging ad formats. So whether it's video ads, it's carousel ads, it's static images, a lot of the variety of creative experimentation that we have available for brands. People really connect with creators. Creators, of course, use a lot of variety of kind tools to engage with their followers through newer formats like IG Live, which now allows in real-time interaction as well. And of course, what we all mostly use Instagram for is to stay connected to our friends and family. So people sharing stories, the newly launched reels, and AR filters. So entire spectrum of different kinds of users on our platform is how the community stays connected, right, across brands, creators, as well as users itself. I think the best segue at this point is to, of course, talk about creators and the whole genre of influencer marketing. I think Instagram is pretty much the default and the best platform when it comes to content creators and influencers across the internet. 64% of the people say that they come to Instagram to interact with creators, right? And of course, you would have experienced this in your personal lives as well, whether people really engage a lot with creators through their posts, through their lives, through DMs as well. We have a lot of new interesting engaging formats like polling, which have been utilized really, really strongly by creators. So essentially, a couple of quarters back, what we saw is there was a bit of a gap between what brands wanted to do. So they really wanted to connect with their consumers using the creators that are available on Instagram. But the platform wasn't very, let's say, built in a way to make that very seamless and frictionless and fluid, right? There was still a lot of effort that brands had to put in, having influencer marketing campaigns rolled out on Instagram. And I think that is one big shift that we've done with the launch of our latest product, which is branded content ads. In essence, whenever brands want to connect with creators, to connect with their consumers finally, that's what we call branded content, right? Simply put, whenever a creator essentially puts out a post or puts out some content which is influenced with a business partner like yourselves, for an exchange of value, which most cases is a monetary sum that's exchanged, that's essentially what comes under branded content, right? And the example that you see on your screens right now is Virat Kohli in a paid partnership with Puma India. And you would have started noticing some of these tags on Instagram yourself, right? Where it shows up, it says paid partnership with brand. And this is a product that we've recently launched to market, which makes it seamless and easy for creators to have a connection with the brand and put out very engaging content for their consumers and their followers to really engage with. Now, I think a big question that comes at this point is why not just do organic branded content? So I've got an influencer on board, I've paid them a certain amount of money. Why not just leave it at that? Let them put out a post, and there doesn't seem to be any need to promote this. I think what's very interesting to note, and I'll take the example here of Virat Kohli itself, right? Just to make it relatable. So whenever a brand, of course, decides to engage with a particular influencer, the key decisions would be, of course, how well the influencer is able to represent the brand, how close are their brand personalities, and also how much of their following is, let's say, representative of your brand's target group as well, right? However, always, a target following of an influencer will be still a very broad-based audience, right? So let's take Virat Kohli as an example. You would have followers of Virat Kohli across a very wide age group. So you would have people all the way probably from 18, I'm sure all the way going up to 50 or above that as well, right? If you talk about locations, while of course most of followers may be from India, but he definitely have a lot of following across the globe from Indians and otherwise who really appreciate the creator and follow him. So we'll have a global following there as well. Of course, from a gender perspective, you would expect both men and women to be following Virat Kohli as well, right? When you think of your target audience, however, I think there are two key impact points that you should remember. One, the TG will always be way larger, right? What you are going after as your target group would be very, very much larger than the followership of a particular influencer itself, right? So typically, if you think about most influencers would range anywhere between a couple of 100,000 followers all the way to maybe, let's say, 10, 20, 30 million of them. But in most cases, your business grows on the back of your TG, which often runs into, let's say, 50, 70, or 100 million people potentially who could buy your products, right? Also, for a lot of brands, your TG will be a little more specific, right? You might want, let's say, for financial services, those of you who are from those kind of brands, you might want only people who are above 25 years of age. Those are the only relevant audiences to you, right? For certain brands which are, let's say, in the e-learning space, anyone, only students who are, let's say, below 25 would be the key target group for you, right? For a lot of you, you might have certain locations, certain cities, maybe the top metros that are of key importance. And definitely India is where you want to restrict it to, right? For certain brands, of course, there might be leaning towards either women or men, towards which are more, have a higher propensity of being your consumers as well. When you actually leave it to only branded content as being organic, essentially the only relevant audience that you're reaching out to is the thin slice of audience that is also their followers and is also relevant to your TG, right? It's a very thin slice. So all of the effort and impact that you want to drive, all of the effort that you've put in tying up with this influencer from different perspectives, you wouldn't want it to just stay limited to a very thin relevant targeting that you've finally gone ahead with. And hence, branded content ads really try and solve this problem, where it allows you to use that influencer and actually scale it up to your target audience as well, right? Just to explain what essentially this means, is that the key importance that you have when it comes to branded content ads and influencers is the brand and the impact that the influencer brings to you, right? So it's their Instagram handle, it's their profile, it's of course the impact that they bring in the post itself. You are able to use all of these elements, which is the post, the handle, and their the account itself, but scale it up and target your specific audience across India, right? And hence it solves both of the problems. You're making sure that the impact of the influencer is maintained, and you're also ensuring that you're reaching out to people who you really care about, who will get influenced by this particular piece of content. So broadly, there are three main pillars that branded content ads solves for us, like I mentioned. First is, of course, scale. Make sure you're reaching out to all your TG, right? You make sure you're not just limiting to a small section of the influencer's followers, but you're actually scaling it up to all the other consumers and target group that you have that will still get influenced by this particular piece of content, but may not necessarily be following that particular influencer at that point of time. So it gives you massive amount of scale. I think the second slightly underestimated piece of this is optimization. For a lot of you who are already advertising on Facebook, you're using our ads manager, you'll realize that there's a lot of power that Facebook's brain and the algorithm actually brings to the table, right? So with branded content ads, you're able to actually use all of the machine learning, all of Facebook's marketing prowess into your influencer marketing campaigns as well. So you're able to use what objectives do you want? Are you optimizing for reach or brand awareness or video views? You're able to dictate those kind of inputs to it. You have the option to use various targeting levers, whether it's custom audiences or lookalikes, and the entire gamut of marketing, I would say, ads manager prowess that you have. And finally, the third pillar is measurement. With branded content ads, you can now have very scientific insights into your influencer marketing activities, right? Whether you set up, you want to know what's the unique reach that all of your marketing activity got you, what is the impact in terms of brand metrics, in terms of your awareness movement or movement in purchase intent, or any of these different parameters that you want to study. It brings that entire strength to influencer marketing, which is broadly absent. So hence three big advantages here: scale, optimization, and measurement. Branded content basically addresses all the different parts of the funnel depending on how you decide to use it, right? So it can address awareness, consideration, transaction, and even post-purchase retention and advocacy as well, right? Depending on which part of the funnel you want to really address for your consumers, you can make sure your content and your strategy is designed to either inform and discover your brands, which is in the awareness bucket, try and get them to convince and put your products or services in the consideration bucket, or maybe make it easier for them to just go ahead and purchase and buy them, right? And finally, of course, try and make sure you're connecting with them in the long term and make sure they're getting rewarded for this. Depending on which part of the funnel you want to really go after consumers, that's the strategy you can deploy, all of it within the entire gamut of influencer marketing itself. And I'll show you some examples of how a lot of different brands have been able to do activities across their entire funnel and get some amazing results out of it as well. So starting off with awareness, here are 3 examples from Hyundai Aura, Cadbury Silk, and Puma India. I'll just go through them one by one and show you these, the way they'd gone ahead with it. This is some very interesting inspiration for all of you brands out there to try and see how some of the other advertisers who've been early adopters of this product have gone ahead and used it. The first is, of course, Hyundai Aura. This was the launch of their car. And they used a variety of different influencers to showcase the product itself. And we got a 4.5-point lift in awareness from this particular campaign itself. The next one was Cadbury Silk. This was during the Valentine's Day campaign that they had. And this was part of the larger thematic that they were running across platforms. And this was able to embed and make sure that they were increasing on the impact of the campaign on Instagram. I'll just play this video. I hope you guys can see this. And this campaign was very, like you'll see the messaging was very closely attached to the thematic that they were running. So I'll play that for you in case some of you haven't seen this and you will understand the connection.
I can reach your lips on your fingertips and happiness in your eyes. Kiss me, close your eyes, miss me.
So hope you got the gist of that. So essentially, the communication that they, of course, adopted for branded content as well as their overall thematic was very similar, where they used the totem of the umbrella very effectively. The third example is Puma India with Virat Kohli. And I'll give you an example of this as well. Sorry about the audio, guys. I just switched it on. If you look at the next level of the marketing funnel, right, going one step ahead, which is into the consideration phase, here again we have examples from Mondelez, Oppo, as well as Nokia. Very interesting kind of campaigns to give a flavor of how they deployed it. So starting with the first one, Cadbury Silk. Essentially, this was a campaign called "Say Thank You." It was encouraging people to thank people who have really had an impact on their lives, especially during COVID. If people want to go and thank some of the healthcare workers with a pack which had "thank you" written on it and customized in different languages. So it was trying to bring about another consumption occasion for people to be able to go ahead and purchase consider getting a Cadbury Silk. Have a look.
लाइफ में एक इमोशन है जो हम कई बार दिल में महसूस तो करते हैं, लेकिन अक्सर उसे कहने से चूक जाते हैं। थैंक यू। और ऐसे कई सारे थैंक यूज मुझ पे उधार है उस शख्स के लिए जो मेरी लाइफ में जीनी बनकर आया। मेरे उस जीनी का नाम है राजन। राजन इज माई ऑर्गेनाइजर। आई स्टिल रिमेंबर, मुझे एक शूट पे जाना था, आउटडोर शूट था, एंड मेरे पास कोई स्टाफ नहीं था, बट my genie came to my rescue. Not only once, whenever I needed something or I wished for, he was there for me without expecting anything in return. It's been 5 years that I know him. Rajan, तू मेरा छोटा भाई है, you're like a family. और आज तक जितने भी थैंक यूज मैंने दिल में महसूस किए हैं, लेकिन मैंने कभी तुझसे कहे नहीं है, आज मैं कैडबरी डेयरी मिल्क के जरिए तुझसे कहना चाहती हूँ थैंक यू सो मच राजन। किसी की मुस्कुराहट के पीछे की वजह बन के कितना अच्छा लगता है ना। आज आप भी उन लोगों को एक मीठा सा थैंक यू बोल दो। जॉइन मी एंड शेयर योर स्टोरीज विद हैशटैग से थैंक यू। लेट्स स्प्रेड द वर्ड एंड लेट्स मेक अ वर्ल्ड अ हैप्पियर प्लेस।
The next one was with Oppo, and Oppo had launched their Reno 3, and they really wanted to position and showcase the camera and the video and photo taking ability of the product really well. So they partnered with Dabu Ratnani, and have a look.
You think being a glamour photographer is so easy, right? Wrong. No. No. Sometimes inspiration can shine in the darkest of corners. Sometimes you need to look at things differently. Well, I'm not a star. I just make the stars shine brighter. What's behind you is what gets you ahead. Oppo Reno 3 Pro, the expert for an expert.
Yeah, the campaign got you can see, 3-point lift in consideration for the Reno 3. And of course, last is the Nokia, which is again a phone manufacturer. They also partnered with Sanya Malhotra for their 5310 product.
Hello, so Nokia 5310 brightened up my day with this surprise tune, and I hope my chotu sa dance routine on it will brighten up your day too. So let's see how fun it is to drive to this. Honestly, I was trying out the speakers और मेरी तरफ से 10 on 10. It's a great companion for dance and music lovers like me. मुझे तो बहुत मजा आया. I hope you enjoyed it too.
Yeah. So across all of these three, you'll notice that the communication was now a lot more specific to either a particular USP, like in case of Nokia and Oppo, or trying to have specifically pushing for a certain consumption occasion in the case of Cadbury Silk. So it was again brands moving a little more towards the consideration phase and not so much just about discovery of the product. The next part is of course a little more examples of where they were trying to drive transactions or actions itself, and 3 examples here with Sensodyne, Swiggy, and another one with Cadbury itself. So here, of course, different formats were used. In the case of Sensodyne, you can see this is a filter that was used, and they partnered with a lot of different creators. Pooja Dhingra Chef here is the one example that we've got. In the case of Swiggy, they had another filter that they'd used to try and get people to drive orders. And this is a very interesting way of pushing for it, and I'll play this guys.
नहीं बोलने का, याद तो तुमको भी आ रही है ना अपने फेवरेट बिरयानी वाले रेस्टोरेंट की। हाँ, उन्हीं की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं। जो कभी रायता कम देते हैं, कभी बिरयानी में इलायची ठूस देते हैं, फिर भी पता नहीं क्या करते हैं यार, साला सोच के ही मुंह में पानी आ रहा है। खैर, स्विगी वाले बढ़िया लोगों ने ये फिल्टर बनाए हैं अपना, कुछ फूडो शॉप नाम का। ज़रा देखो क्या है उसमें, अपने फेवरेट रेस्टोरेंट थोड़ा सपोर्ट वपोर्ट कर दो यार। देखो याद तो तुमको भी आ ही रही है उनकी, मेरे को भी आ ही रही है उनकी, मतलब। और खाना तुम ऑर्डर कर भी सकते हो ना, जैसे मतलब ये तो जैसे फूडो शॉप का फिल्टर है जिसमें तुम ऐसे रेस्टोरेंट्स के फ़ोटोज़ डाल सकते हो, खाने के फ़ोटोज़ डाल सकते हो, पर मंगा भी तो सकते हैं। मतलब ऐसे ही बढ़िया दम बिरयानी, साथ मिर्ची का सालन हुआ है।
So they had a specific filter made with a lot of different food dishes, and using influencers that gotten the word out to get people to more and more use these filters and try and get them to order directly, right? The third was, of course, Cadbury Cocoa, and the reason we've put multiple let's say, examples from the same advertiser is to show how Cadbury or Mondelez itself uses branded content ads for different parts of the funnel very, very effectively. Here it was with Cadbury Cocoa, which is which you can make
Best
mousse
part about
and
going to a restaurant with your friends?
yeah, which can help you make different dishes like cakes and mousses and things like that. They partnered with Amrita Raichand and Mandira Bedi as who demonstrated how to use Cadbury Cocoa to make an interesting and tasty dish, right? And we in fact saw a very, very good movement here itself. So 2.3 point lift in purchase intent with people who had seen these particular creatives. When we come to advocacy for the brand, here are two examples again from Cadbury. This time it's 5-star, and from Budweiser India. Let me play the first one, which was 5 stars Do Nothing campaign.
Yeah, much better. Now, since this is hello and welcome to your first 5-star Do Nothing Outside challenge. Now, I've noticed ever since we can't go outside, one thing that everybody misses is doing exercise. One thing that some people miss is doing.
So here is Rohan Joshi cleaning his walls with his dusting jacks. There is no reason to be cleaning your walls, but it does look cool. So carry on along with the crew. घर बैठे बैठे ढक्कन जैसी फीलिंग आने लगी है, तो घबराइए मत, ढक्कनों को लाइन में लगाइए और उंगलियों से कबड्डी के साथ
So essentially, what you notice is, 5-star had a thematic and their overall messaging around do nothing, but they used it very creatively to have a campaign and creatives communication, especially during lockdown. So there was a very interesting use of that thematic communication. And then we had Budweiser, who not just had the communication with influencers, but it was part of their creatives as well, right? It was very central to them. Have a look.
Hey man, what's happening?
Staying home, watching a game, having a bird.
Hang on, Joshi's calling.
What's up?
What's up? Hang on, guys. What's up?
Let's send Rahul.
With Karan.
Hold on.
Where's Karan, auntie?
He's sleeping, like always.
So what's happening, auntie?
Nothing much, beta. Staying at home, cutting bhindi, making dal.
True.
So here are some examples, and I think this would be a good point to just highlight a couple of those creative, let's say, tips from that perspective. So if you generally look at the kind of creatives that are used when it comes to branded content, I think one of the major themes that really comes out is that you make sure not just the brand but also the creator, both of them are really critical and central to your communication, right? So whatever the creators are best for and whatever they really stand for, make sure you use that to your advantage. while you're still having the brand central to the communication and making sure it's coming out really clearly. Right. I think I'll give broad three main tips as to how to make sure your brand content strategy works really well for you. I think the first is on automatic placements. So make sure that the entire family of apps that we have on Facebook are utilized for maximum efficiency and effectiveness. So whether your users are using Facebook or Instagram or reading articles on Audience Network or messaging through Messenger, using automatic placements gives the system the ability to deliver for you the most effective and efficient use of the platform and gives you best results. So as much as possible, recommend to use automatic placements. I think the second, from a creative effectiveness, like I already just touched upon that earlier, make sure the look and feel is very native to Instagram as a platform itself, right? This often means a bit of a change in the mindset from, let's say, if you're used to doing a lot of print advertising or TV advertising, a bit of a different way to look at creatives and the whole look and feel of it on Instagram. Make sure your brand and product does definitely is central and comes pretty much right at the forefront of your communication. Make sure you're driving hard that particular point. And third, I think, which is the most interesting part, is the format and execution, right? Instagram gives you a lot of creative liberty to try lots and lots of different formats. So everything from, let's say, stories to polls, to carousels, to videos, short form and long form. So there's a very wide gamut of formats that you can do. And it's, of course, up to your creativity and the way you would want to utilize all of these. I think some of the previous examples were very interesting ways that you saw how brands had used, everything from, live sessions to, filters to pollings and all of those entire gamut of things. And finally, make sure you measure everything that you do on our platform. We have a wide variety of Facebook first-party solutions itself, which work fabulously well for across all our advertisers. If you're a performance advertiser, you will be very, split test is something that you might find very useful to try and make sure you're getting the best cost per acquisition or cost per purchases for you. If you're a brand advertiser or you're doing any upper funnel, top funnel advertising, definitely recommend to use a brand lift tool as well to make sure that you can measure what kind of brand metrics you're moving across all your campaigns. We, of course, also have third-party solutions. So, whether it's cross-platform reads that you want, or you want certain reads from, let's say, Millward Brown or Nielsen, all of those are available as well. And finally, before we move on to Q&A, if some of the stuff that you've seen right now and influencer marketing is something that really interests you, we have, of course, put together, an event or a particular program for all of you called Love Runs Deep. And I'd like to invite all of you to come and be a part of it. Watch this video and I'll talk a little bit about it right after.
When I look at you, I see myself. You're my other side. Can you feel it now? Can you feel it beat? This love runs deep. Everything I do for you. You're my other side. Can you feel it now? Can you feel it beat? This love runs deep.
So what we've done essentially for everyone, all of you out there, is we've put together 25 diverse creators from Instagram, like the ones that you saw in this video and you can see on your screen right now. And you can go ahead and submit your brand brief, a very simple couple of lines there on igloverunsdeep.com. The top 5 winning brand briefs will actually be worked on by these creators itself for you. So I'd encourage all of you who are interested to go ahead and fill out your entries. and you could be one of the particular brands who gets featured with and has an entire campaign drafted by these wonderful creators.
This is so that was indeed a very engaging session. I'm sure our attendees today will take with them a lot of insights which they can leverage to amplify their business outcomes with Instagram. With that, we move on to our Q&A session. The first question that we have from our audiences is, doesn't declaring a paid partnership using branded content tag dilute a brand's impact?
Thanks, Bathaki. I think that's a fabulous question. And it's something that we get here a lot, very, very often, right? Saying that if I put a paid promotion there, isn't that sort of hurting my brand at all? And what was very interesting is that when we actually surveyed our consumers and people on Instagram, what we figured is that's in fact not the case at all. In fact, quite the opposite. So most people on Instagram, they really value when both creators as well as brands are genuine and honest about the partnerships that they have, right? They really, in fact, I think absence of let's say a branded of let's say transparency is something that may possibly hurt both the creator and the brand. So we definitely recommend all creators and in fact all brands, whenever they're using any partnerships, to go ahead and use the tag for sure. Across all our studies, we've only seen it impact positively, and this has also been vetted by verified by a lot of third-party studies that have done. Whether you look at the Atlantic, you look at Harvard Business Review, which have said that people really value the being transparent with them and showing them exactly what's going on behind the hood.
Thank you for sharing your insights. So with that, we move on to our second question. The second question we have today is, for FMCG brands, what role can influencers play in creating regionalized and personalized branding content?
Perfect. Thanks, Visaki. So this is a great question. I think one of the very interesting ways we've seen branded content being used is to actually go ahead and zoom into a particular geography. So, select certain creators that have a very sharp following in certain cities or in certain geographies. And we've seen that their influence in that particular area, if it's really, really strong, it can really rub off very well for your brand as well. Just an example top of mind that comes to me here is when AB InBev launched, their latest beer brand called Veere. They actually launched it just in, let's say, a couple of cities in Mumbai and Pune. And utilizing brand, content creators from these two cities really helped them give a very, very interesting launch. So that's absolutely a fantastic way to use this product.
Sure. So moving on to our third question. The third question is, what kind of scientific insights do we have and what targeting filters are available on Instagram?
Perfect. So you essentially get the entire gamut of all the metrics that you're used to on all of your advertising till date. So whether it means the kind of reach you're getting, the impressions you're getting, the kind of views that you've got, any of the metrics that you're used to on advertising on Facebook and Instagram, they are 100% available for branded content ads as well. And specifically for targeting, again, the entire gamut. So whether you want to go with interest-based targeting, you want to go with age, geography, specific, gender filters, you have your own custom audience that you really want to use of people who visited your website, downloaded your app. The entire, I think, system is available for you to explore.
Great. So the next question comes in form of a request where one of our audience wants you to highlight a bit on the thematic salience.
Got it. I think this is very interesting. Sometimes I think right now when branded content and influencer activity started off, it was seen more as a one-off activity, right? So you come in and you engage with the influencer for a couple of posts and then you move away from it. What we've actually started noticing is that a lot of brands have longer relationships with a lot of creators, right? So they would have a 6-month or a 1-year or a 2-year contract with a lot of these influencers. And the kind of content that is put out at different points of time keeps getting adjusted to the kind of communication that the brand really wants to go after, right? So think of it as, at this point of time, you might want to use your partnerships to have content around Diwali. Maybe in the next quarter, if you have a brand launch, you use the same kind of influencers for that kind of communication. And that kind of consistency really helps, right? Because you're showing a very good commitment to your consumers as well as to the creators. And your relationships really show a lot of meaning and strength if you keep it for a long duration, for a, let's say, for a larger purpose for your brand.
Great. So moving on to our fourth question. The fourth question is, how does Instagram measure point lift with respect to purchase intent?
Perfect, great question. So this is thanks to what we call our brand lift study methodology. Essentially, in short, if I was to do it, it's an A/B test. Your ads are exposed to a piece of the audience, and they're kept unexposed to a certain audience as well. And then both of these audiences are polled with certain questions. In terms of, let's say, since you pointed out purchase intent, there'll be a poll going on to Facebook saying, if you were to buy, a chocolate next, would you consider buying silk, right? And essentially, we measure the difference between both of these, both of these groups to see what's the incremental impact. What I'd recommend is, definitely go to Facebook Blueprint and specifically read up on brand lift, and you'll get all of the complete details on how this is done.
So moving on to our next question, we have the next question as, what tools are available to measure the analytics from the campaigns that people or brands will do with influencers?
Yeah, perfect. I think so. What we recommend generally for most brands to try and do is measure what's really truly important for your brand. So let's say if your brand is right now trying to move brand awareness, use our lift methodology to measure what was the actual percentage point lift in, let's say, brand awareness or consideration, or let's say purchase intent, whichever part of the funnel is important to you. Also try and look at some of the basic media principles, like are you getting the right reach, are you getting the right frequency for your creatives, what's the duration that they've been reached around, and you get all of the different breakdowns around age, around geographies, around genders. All of that is completely available to you.
So moving on to our next question. Our next question is, one of our audiences has requested you to shed some light on Instagram's automatic ad placement technology.
Perfect. So essentially, the advantage that you have with Facebook is that because we have so many ad placements across Instagram, you can see ads on the feed, you can see it on the stories, you can see it in what we call Instagram Explore. When you opt into automatic placements, you're essentially giving the Facebook algorithm the ability to optimize to show your ad in the place that is going to make the most impact, right? So just to give you an example, if I as a user use both stories as well as feed, if the system feels that I have a massive amount of impact that's going to get created if I'm served an ad on stories, the ad will be shown to me on stories, right? So it's using machine learning to make sure that you get the best bang for your buck, and your ads get the maximum impact that you want out of it.
Super. So we have time to take one more question. So the last question that we have from audience from today is, how to categorize different influencers, like macro, micro, how to categorize influencers for brands?
Yeah. So I think that's quite an interesting question. And, the way to think about it is, what we recommend is not necessarily to only focus on, let's say, the followership of the influencers. I think it's equally important to make sure that these influencers and the creators that you're partnering with really are able to resonate with your brand very, very strongly. So whether you're going with a, let's say a influencer with a smaller size of following, or you're going with the one which is one of the top celebrity stars, I think what's the most important part is how well they can reflect your brand, especially with the power of branded content ads on your side. You will be able to scale up either of these creators to a very good reach level, and make it part of your holistic media plan. So make sure that the biggest criteria that you're using to choose influencers is how well they can influence and impact your brand from a personality perspective, and less so much about their number of followers that they specifically have.
That was indeed some very insightful insights that you have shared. With that, I would like to thank you once again, Mr. Sood. And we come to the end of today's workshop. It was really exciting to know how effortlessly brands can become a part of this beautiful journey where creators and their followers meet and retell its brand story through passion, trust, and authenticity, and definitely all backed by measurable outcomes. Thank you, Mr. Sood. It was a pleasure to have you with us today. And definitely a big thank you to our audience for the active participation. We wish you safety and the best of health. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you, Baisakhi. Thanks.